Hello, hello. Well, welcome back. If you are joining us from last week to continue on in our joy challenge, or if you're just joining us, that's fine too. We are walking through how to create more joy in our life. So, who needs that? Who needs some more joy? I know that I do. Well, if you're new to our Refresh community, my name is Amy Allgood, and my mission is to pull out the champion of women to help them use their God-given gifts to make an impact. So I'm excited to do that. And you know what we're talking about, you guys, in our joy study, we can do that because think about it. How much more limited are we using our gifts that God has given us if we're not really walking in authentic joy? So that's what we're talking about these next couple weeks. And I do want to announce the book winner. And so this is the book, if you weren't on last week, the 4-8 Principles. So Amber Tomasco, congratulations, you were the winner. So way to go. Thank you guys for sharing it. But if you know a friend, it's not too late. Tag a girlfriend, a friend that you know needs more joy in their life, because that's what we're going to be talking about these next couple weeks. And so what if you weren't a part of last week, I'll just kind of share that I was walking my dog about a week or two ago, and God just really convicted me of, the fruit of the Spirit, and that I just wasn't walking in the authentic joy that I really, really wanted to be walking on a daily basis. And so through that, I just thought, I'm sure I'm not the only one that wishes that they felt more joy, and we can't give away what we don't have, right? So I know that the reason that that's a battle, maybe more than some other ones, is because the enemy wants to steal our joy, because our joy is the fruit of the Spirit, and if you're a Christian, people will know us by our fruit. So this is it. It's not the fruit of your life, how successful you are. It's those fruits of the Spirit. I'm not sure how many. I was going to say how many, but I'm not sure. Those 7, 8, 9 fruits of the Spirit. So joy is such a big one. And as I have talked to a lot of women recently, I just feel like the enemy is really attacking this in us, because he does not want us to feel the joy, because then we can't spread it and people will not know him. All right, so let's dive right in. And we talked about last week, the battle of the mind. I challenged you. Who did your challenge? I want to know. If you didn't, that's okay. Do it this week. But the challenge was, what are you thinking about that saddens you, and who are you thinking about that hurts you? Because we've got to learn to choose our thoughts, so we're going to go even deeper with that today. So if you are going to get the book, but I just want to say this book has impacted me so much, and it's been a book that I've recommended to so many people. It's the 4-8 Principle by Tommy Newberry. So we're just at the beginning. We're diving into chapter 1 this week, which is called Life as It Was Meant to Be. Life as It Was Meant to Be. And so each week what we're doing, y'all, it's just like a book club. We're just going to kind of go through it. I'm not going to read it verbatim, word for word of the chapter. I'm just going to pull out some key points from each chapter. So in chapter 1, there was about, four points that I had pointed out, and then we're going to close with a prayer for joy. So the first, let's talk about the first one. So really, I think that the first key point, I think, in this chapter is that we look outside, not inside. And so I mentioned that last week, actually, how it's an inward job. Joy is inward and happiness is outward. So I talked about how I made that very first goal poster, and when I was 23, and I said, I want to just be happy. But see, as I achieved things and I did that, I was happy for like a moment, because it was all circumstantial. So, and here they're talking about that we look outside, not inside, to get that joy. And most people are trying to find joy in something or someone outside of themselves. So we really got to learn this week how to do that on an inwardly. It's talking about how we search for joy in all the wrong places. Who can relate to that? And the secret to a joyful life is so close, so obvious. Sometimes it's the last place that we look, and we want to look within. So I love when he talks about that living with joy is actually our birthright. Think about that. It's our birthright because he has already put it inside of us. And this verse didn't write down what verse. Okay, but it says, be joyful always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances. So giving thanks in all circumstances, that doesn't just mean when the weather's beautiful and you just got an amazing client or a great sale or something awesome happened with your kid that day or your marriage. No, it is saying in all circumstances. So even when something bad is happening, even when something good is happening. But as the children of God, we are rightful heirs to the blessing of overflowing joy. So it's kind of like if you were to inherit something so incredible, and from a good friend or a family member, and you just have this treasure that you were inherited, and you're like, nah, I don't want it. What? That would be crazy, right? And that's what he's saying, that as the children of God, that we are the heirs to the blessing of overflowing joy. So why would you reject that when God is so freely giving us that? And so it says that God has declared us worthy, and as a result, we have a calling, a responsibility to express and demonstrate joy by the way we live. So are you living with joy? So God has given it to us freely. People will only know us by our fruit if we can live that way. So it goes on to say this, and I love this because this reminded me of my life verse, but it says, being joy-filled does not mean that your life is perfect. Duh, okay? Sometimes we have that expectation. Again, we're looking for those circumstances to make us happy. It says, what does it mean to trust God? And this, I love this part about trusting God and believing that he does have a great plan for your life. Well, my life verse is Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, not to harm you, plans for hope and a future. And what I love is that a couple years ago, after it had been my life verse for a while, God really revealed to me, he said, Amy, are you living like you believe that verse? And I think that that's what the message is right here, what he's trying to say. Are we believing? Are we actually living our life like we're believing some of the stuff? We can say it, but it's so good, some of these examples he goes on to give. So I'm just going to go right on. But another key point in here is that joy is an outward sign of inward faith in the promises of God. So we're showing that we're believing the promises of God. And so if we don't have joy, we're not outwardly showing that. We got to do a heart check because we're not really believing what God has said. It says joy is the sum and substance of emotional health. It is a state of mind that must be deliberately cultivated if you are determined to live in love and influence as God has intended. So if you have this desire to impact others, then God is saying that you've got to figure out this joy and this mental health piece of it. And then if it goes on to say, this is the last part of my first point out of my 4. It says, keep your thoughts fixed on God. It goes on to talk about the mental discipline, this being consciously focused of what you're thinking about, like we talked about last week. When you keep your thoughts fixed on God, the things of God will naturally permeate your life, and thus your goals will be in line with his will and his kingdom. So check yourself right now. Like if I were to ask you, where are you at in your mental discipline? What would that look like, honestly? But the good news, we control that, like we learned last week, and we can have improvement on that. By deliberately working to improve your mental game, you will steadily upgrade every area of your life. That's so exciting. Isn't that exciting? Who wants to upgrade every area of their life? Thank you, yes, and amen. So by deliberately, that doesn't mean by half-heartedly, whatever kind of. No, it's like deliberately working to improve your mental game. So that's actually going to be my challenge for y'all today, but I'm saying it early again. But what are you doing to improve your mental game? You can't keep going through your motions. You can't, this is one of the reasons I do our Refresh Women's Retreat, if you're not familiar with that, because I know I want women to be deliberate about seeing the changes in their life that they want to do. And I know in the day-to-day, you can't do that. If you think about Martha and Mary, they both served a purpose. But most of the time, if we're being honest with ourselves, y'all hear me talk about this a lot, most of us are probably Martha. Think about it. We're busy, like running around doing a million things. So when you're Martha, you're not sitting, just relishing, listening to the Lord. And I do my quiet time every day. But I know that there's a certain time that time is cut off, that I got to go and get my day started, get the kids where they need to be, get to the appointments I have, the responsibilities, all the things on that to-do list, right? Can you relate? So pressing pause for a moment is so key. So that's one of our purposes of Refresh Women's Retreat, is that you leave there coming home, knowing how to live a more joy-filled life and less stress. That's what it's talking about here. Okay, so let's point on to point number 2. So number 1 was we got to look inward, not outward. Stop looking at your circumstances and learn that mental discipline of how to create that joy. Second is, what can you do? Okay, so what can you do? He talked about, I love this thing that he talks about with his son, and his son had broken his arm, and he was complaining about, all the things that he couldn't do. So Tommy Newberry, the author, said to him, I want you to write down 21 things that you can still do with just one arm. And I want to challenge all of us, okay? There is something, I want you to think of a circumstance in your life that you have recently complained about, that you maybe have felt frustrated that you're walking through, whatever that is. And I want you to, reverse that and write down 21 things that you can do, right? So he does this, And so write down, he says, 21 things you can still do with just one arm, okay? And we'll be done. And so he goes on to write. And so, of course, what happens? That mental discipline kicks in, and he learns how to become more grateful for that. And he said Ty was learning how to win the battle of his mind and starting to understand the secret to a joy-filled life. So that is the secret. So he went from complaining, the same situation, he still had his broken arm, but instead of looking at the view of what I cannot do because of this broken arm, he looked at what I can do. And he went beyond the 21 things he came up with that of all the different things that he could do. So he was excited about it. It really switched that around. So that's one of the best things you can do anytime that you're walking through anything that's a challenge, is to go back and ask yourself specifically, what can I do instead of what can't I do? And look at that. It really will change your mental mindset. Okay, number 3 is that your thoughts are showing. I love this one. Your thoughts are showing. How many of you have ever been talking to someone and it's like you can read right through their eyes? Like you can really see what is happening without them even saying it. I love that. Sometimes I don't love it though, because right, how many of you have ever been in conversation, you're like, oh man, I know what you're thinking. Okay, so your thoughts are showing. It says almost everything that happens to you, good or bad, originates with a single thought. So I want you to think about that, because with all the sin in the world, let's be honest, you don't wake up, I don't think anybody wakes up and is like, I'm going to go cheat on my spouse, or I'm going to go and betray this friend, or I'm going to go and murder someone. I mean, no one, it doesn't just wake up like that. It's going to start with a single thought. So on the reverse side, excuse me guys, I still have this cough. It's like lingering, but this happens with the good stuff. So if something good is going to happen, you don't just wake up and become successful one day, or you don't just wake up and have this intentional marriage or intentional relationship with a family member or a friend, right? It happens because you're thinking, you're deciding it ahead of time. It goes on to say, neuroscientists can now demonstrate that every thought sends electrical and chemical signals throughout your brain, ultimately affecting each cell in your body. Thoughts can influence your sleep, your digestion, your pulse, the chemical makeup of your blood, and all other bodily functions. So it is true, the mental and the physical are tied together. The secret conversations that you hold, I love this. This is one of my favorite parts of this chapter. The secret conversations that you hold in the privacy of your own mind are shaping your destiny little by little. Wow. Think about that. Okay. So like last week, I challenged you to write down your thoughts. If you've never done that, this is a powerful exercise for just a whole week. Write down those thoughts that you're thinking about. Listen to this. The average person thinks approximately 50,000 thoughts per day. Wow, 50,000 thoughts. But you know what? It doesn't talk about this here, but just from other research I've done, I can tell y'all there's 50 thoughts. There are a lot of the same thoughts reoccurring, right? It's probably like 7 to 9 of those same thoughts. And out of those 7 to 9 are those things that you're worried about or fearful about, or analyzing, overthinking, trying to figure out, or are they faithful thoughts, belief thoughts, gratitude, thanking God for what he's going to do. So you're thinking that over and over again and again. You cannot receive something that you don't first believe. It's literally impossible to be able to do that. So it says this is either good or bad news, because every thought moves you either forward towards your God-given potential or away from it. No thoughts are neutral. And something I have written down for many years that I learned from Dr. Carolyn Leaf is allow no thought to be unchecked. Don't allow any thought to come in here without checking it first. So whatever you direct your mind to think about will ultimately be revealed to everyone to see. So don't think just because it's here that people aren't going to see it. It will eventually come out in your facial expressions, in your attitude, in your words. It's going to come out. So your thoughts are showing. Always know that. So we want to be careful about what we're thinking about. So here's the last key thought to this part, I think, right? Oh, 2 more key thoughts for this. Okay, what you persistently think eventually, but inevitably crystallizes into the words you speak and then the things that you do. 90% of the thoughts that you have today are repeats from yesterday and the day before. So again, going back and forth with the different things that you're thinking about, it's the same thought. So again, are these good repeating thoughts? Or are they negative? Because they are shaping the destiny of your life. It says when they should be asking God to help them renew their minds. When our minds are renewed, circumstances will take care of themselves. So it's a waste of time and energy to sit there and worry about that circumstance. What he is saying is that when we will renew our minds, like in Romans, it talks about that, I think 8:28, right? Renewing the mind. When you do that, all the other things will just work themselves out. Isn't that good? Okay, the last part of this one, then we'll wrap up with number 4. The battle you wage against your human nature is an invisible one that will be won or lost in your mind. Oh my gosh, if there's anything you take away from today, let it be that the battle is always won. So whatever it is, the battle you wage is one that will be won or lost in your mind every time. So before you set out on anything in your life, it's won or lost right now. Minute by minute, hour by hour, in the hidden workshop of your mind, you're constructing thoughts of good or evil, depression or joy, success or failure. You're writing your own life story as a human being with each subtle and soundless thought. Wow. Okay, so you don't just, wake up depressed. Okay, that's important. We got that. All right, last one, number 4. The gift of the present. The gift of the present. So being present is what he's talking about. Did you know that you cannot be joy-filled without thinking thoughts of joy? Okay, I love this example he gives. He says, can you remember a time when you were thinking of hope and happiness but felt depressed at the same time? No, right? Like that cannot happen. I cannot be thinking of this memory that was so much joy and then be depressed. Like you just physically can't do that. So it says while thinking, you have only the present moment. So like right now, whatever you're thinking about, it's only now. Like you only have this present moment. It says a blissful memory is experienced as present joy. So think about what is, if you remember last week, I told you to put your hands over your heart and identify 3 blissful memories that you have. And whenever anxiety starts to creep in or depression, any of those bad feelings, that's one of the best go-to exercises that I do, and I've walked this through with women that I've mentored and I've coached, and oh my gosh, it is powerful. I mean, you really can go deep in that. And so I didn't go in all the detail of that, but you can do that, right? So putting the hands over your heart and really being able to go to that place. And the reason we do that is because when you go there, it helps to create that joy inside of you, that feeling. So it says, as a result, thinking, talking, and worrying about what you don't want can never bring you what you don't want. That is worth repeating. Okay, let me repeat that one more time. Thinking, talking, and worrying about what you don't want can never bring you what you do want. Girlfriends, let's be honest here. Like, how many of us spend too much time talking about what we don't want? And let's make it just black and white. If it's not what you do want, you're talking about what you don't want. So check yourself. I'm giving you guys these things, and he's giving us these things in these books to really check ourselves. Because, hey, why would I sit here and meditate? This is what this whole book is about, on what I don't want versus what I do want. And it's training that mental discipline to say, I'm going to train myself on what I do want. So I'm going to choose to be thinking thoughts about that. I spent just a few minutes this morning just closing my eyes after my quiet time, and I just visualized what I want in an area of my life, and I just thought about it. Just took a minute or two. Okay, it's not some big long thing, but you can do that. We all have time to take a minute or two and allow ourselves to daydream about what we do want. In Job 3:25, I love this verse. It says, we are warned that the things we intensely fear have a tendency to become reality. And Jesus repeatedly reminds us that what we receive will be the result of what we believe. I said that earlier, right? Remember? What we receive will be the result of what we believe. So whatever we're believing is what we're receiving. You cannot have, they're kind of like just, go hand in hand. They're synonymous. People are defiled or made unclean by what is in their hearts. So it says, take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. Now, can you imagine, right? Who doesn't want to, I, as a Christian, I know you do, want to be obedient to Christ. So it says, can you imagine a negative, cynical, self-defeating, or woe is me thought being obedient to Jesus Christ? Of course not. That doesn't make sense. So it goes on to say, one who doubts is a double-minded man. So here's another check for ourselves. How often are we doubting what we're praying for, what God are asking for? This is one of my favorite parts in the book when he gives this example of the umbrella. It says, being impure in your thinking is really the opposite of being mentally disciplined. Again, so it's a double-minded. So here's why. It's like praying for sunshine and then grabbing your umbrella as you walk out the door. How many of us do that? I remember a few years ago when I was just kind of walking through just, everyday challenges with like being married, like communication, all that stuff. I was praying and praying and praying that God would work on us. And then I remember going to a lunch with a girlfriend, like a bestie, like close girlfriend. And then I was kind of, talking to her about it. And I thought, well, that is kind of self-defeating, right? I'm like praying for this. So obviously if I'm praying for it, but then I'm like talking about what I'm hoping will change, that's kind of defeating the point, okay? So it's the same thing. You're praying, God, let it be sunshine today, and then you grab your umbrella. Like, where's the faith in that? But how often do we do that on an everyday basis with stuff? So it goes on as another example. It's forgiving your spouse for a grievance and then repeatedly rehearsing it in your mind. So someone hurt you and then you rehearse it over and over in your mind. Remember those 50,000 thoughts? There's only a few that are repeated. It is hoping for the best and secretly fearing the worst. It is, I hope we're all being convicted. I know I am. Anybody else being convicted? Okay, put something in the comments. I haven't really been interaction. Let me say, hey, Yoli, hey, Megan, hey, Angela. Okay, so put some stuff in the comments. I don't want to be the only one being convicted hearing this. But it is the inability to direct your thoughts in a deliberate, preconceived direction. Though God's grace doesn't demand mental discipline, living a life of excellence must be preceded by it. So in wrapping up today, the mental resource is one of the greatest things God has given us. I want us to know, I was just talking to my kids about this. I said, I always am talking about controlling your thoughts, what you're thinking about, and what I'm talking about today, what I teach all the time. I'm trying to teach them at a young age to get this piece, and it's so important. But if we understood the power, the most powerful thing I think God has given us is our mind, and to be able to control that. But He has free will. We get to choose what thoughts are coming in and what thoughts are going out. So do we realize, are you realizing the power in that? One of my favorite points in this chapter, it says, the way you think can either multiply or shrink your gifts and talents. Now, y'all know, if you've been on any of my trainings or been to anything, my purpose is to pull out your gifts and talents to help you learn how to understand those more about yourself, and then how to use those gifts to impact the world that you're meant to make to serve, right? We're not here for selfish reasons. So this is powerful. I love this part, because the way we think will either multiply those gifts or they will shrink them. So think about that. I know you all want to use your gifts more, but the way we think has everything to do with what happens with those gifts. I also love this point. As relentlessly as you may try, you cannot think one thing and experience something else. So this is huge. Let me repeat that. As relentlessly, as much as you try, you cannot think one thing and experience something else. So you cannot think, about your business or your family or relationship or an area of your life that's going to be going great. Like, you can't think like, man, what if it doesn't work out, or the fear, right? Like, you can't be thinking about that. It can never show up differently. So remember, whatever you're going to go look for it. You're going to go look for that thing to happen. I mean, it's really that simple. So it's profound but simple at the same time. So if you desire to live a joy-filled life, which we all do, that's why we're here, a life that fulfills God's purpose for you, you must keep your thoughts fixed on things of God. So next week in chapter 2, we're going to talk about reaping the fruit of joyful thinking. So today we talked about the important part. So let's review our 4 points today. So again, we're going to learn how to have mental discipline of our thoughts, because joy comes inward, not from our outward circumstances. And we're going to keep our thoughts fixed on God and not the other things. Number 2 is, what can you do? Remember that, write down that challenge I want to give you guys this week is write down 21 things. So whatever that circumstance, whatever that hard thing that you're walking through, that you could maybe make a long list of all the things that, why it's not great in your life. I want you to put 21 things of what you can do with that and how that could be good, because that will switch your mental state of mind for joy. And then number 3, remember, your thoughts are showing. Yes, they are, my friends. They are. And then just being the gift of the present and not being double-minded. Okay, so I'm going to close in prayer, and I'm going to just say this prayer. I'm going to have you guys repeat it after me. Okay, so wherever you are, or if you can't do it now, just kind of say it in your mind silently, or you can come back. But okay, so this is our prayer for joy today. Lord, thank you for all the goodness in my life and the great plans that you have for me, my family, and my future. I praise you for my healthy mind and the power you have instilled in my thoughts. Thanks especially for the freedom you have given me to select my thoughts and thereby influence my state of mind and my circumstances. Help me to accept responsibility for my thinking. Lead me moment by moment to choose joyful thoughts that line up with the vision you have for my life. Protect me from searching for joy in all the wrong places, and inspire me to enjoy the gifts of this very present moment. All right. Amen. Amen. Okay. So let's go and transfer the renewing of your mind. And the other challenge I want to give you this week is to write, I increase my potential for joy by identifying and writing one circumstance that I would like to improve and the change in thinking that must precede it. So let me say that one more time. So one thing we're going to practically do to increase our joy this week is we're going to identify and write down one circumstance that we would like to improve and change. And then the thinking, of course, has to precede it. So we're going to so don't think about all the different things. I want you to pick one area, one circumstance. And so today, in my quiet time, that when I said I was closing my eyes and I was just thinking about that circumstance for me, that situation for me, I just switched and I visualized what it looked like, the way I want, what I wanted out of that circumstance, instead of what I was fearful of or what I didn't want to happen. No, instead I'm like, thank you, God, for this, and I just visualize that. So hopefully that makes sense. If not, y'all can message me and I'll try to clarify. So next week we will dive deeper into the fruit of what can happen when you are living that more joy-filled life. Congratulations again to Amber, who won the book. And check out, if you've not gotten registered, go check out our refreshwomensretreat.com. It's early bird right now. And like I said, you guys, don't just be the Martha in your life running around busy, busy, busy. You need to take the time, at least once a year, like we're doing, and press pause from your life. Like, you owe it to yourself to do that, because in your day-to-day, you just can never, you're not in the space, in the environment to make the changes, like really steadfast in those changes that you want to make. So it's really like looking at your life through a magnifying lens in every area of your life and being able to really make the changes. And we have such a great group of women that are going to be there pouring into you. Something new this year is we have women that are going to be there to shepherd all weekend long, to literally pray with you one-on-one. And so these women are very equipped to do that with their history and what they do. So I have asked them, God put it on my heart, so they're going to be there to be able to minister with you, one-on-one prayer time. I mean, that's going to be just such a powerful enhancement to our weekend. So go check it out. Go watch the testimonials from before. You'll definitely not come back the woman that you brought there. So if you want to see lasting change in your life, if you really want to live your full purpose, understand your gifts more, get clarity on your purpose, find more joy and peace, I want to invite you to be a part of it. Such a cool group of women, such a powerful community, our Refresh community, just a loving community, open. You can be transparent, be yourself, and we're gonna really dig deep and leave some of that stuff there at Hutchinson Shores, but really come back, with a renewing of your mind, a refreshed spirit. Doesn't that just sound good? I can't wait. So hope to have you experience that with you guys. We really go deep in those 3 days. So have a great week, everybody. See you next time. Thanks for being on.